Hello and welcome to DW's International Reporters Magazine World Stories with me, Layla Harak. Coming up on today's show, young Bulgarians are using Facebook to learn more about their country's communist past. And in Bangladesh, they're benefiting from garbage and how a Chilean NGO is trying to save the bees. That and more just ahead. But we kick off in Cambodia. When you think of coconuts, you probably imagine tropical cocktails, exotic curries, and nourishing skin creams. But what about fuel? In Cambodia, coconuts are used in almost every meal, so their discarded shells are a common waste product. But one company has found good use for them as an environmentally friendly alternative to charcoal. Producing conventional charcoal requires cutting down trees, and that's devastating the country's forests. So will the future be powered by coconuts? Kerstin Schweitzer caught a glimpse of things to come.
Len is out with his whole family in their tuk-tuk. He makes the rounds of Phnom Penh's markets. He's collecting coconut shells. Coconut flakes are an ingredient in many Cambodian dishes. So, there are a lot of shells left over at the markets. Len can earn money with them. A factory on the outskirts of Phnom Penh is willing to pay for coconut shells. Here, they're not waste. They're a raw material.
The idea is to provide Cambodia with an environmental friendly product, since deforestation is a big issue here in Cambodia. So our charcoal is completely recycled organic waste, so we don't cut any trees to produce charcoal.
Cambodians use a lot of wood for construction, furniture making, and for fuel. Even large textile factories like this one use wood as an energy source. The storage area is fully stocked. Jeans production for overseas contractors can swallow up entire forests. Cambodia's woodlands have shrunk by about 20% over the past 10 years. There's hardly any rainforest left at all. No trees have to be felled for the coconut shells. Chopped into manageable size, they form the basic material for green briquettes. They also create jobs. This factory now has 15 permanent employees. The finely chopped shells are packed into an oven and set alight. The factory workers developed this method themselves.
This comes from a cooking stove. It was a cooking stove working with wood pellets, and we have upscaled it to char the coconut shell. So it's a very innovative idea, and I think we are the only ones that have this in the world.
After 2 hours at 800 degrees Celsius, the 45 kilos of shells have been reduced to 10 kilos of charcoal. This is ground up fine and pressed into green briquettes. Charcoal without coal. The factory sells its fuel to restaurants and private customers who use it mainly for cooking. Cambodia numbers among the world's poorest countries. This street barber tries to attract customers with music. Simple street restaurants line the sidewalks. They all use charcoal. It's always been the cheapest fuel. This Japanese barbecue restaurant has switched from conventional charcoal to the green briquettes. They cost the same and don't give off nearly as much smoke. The factory needs more customers like this one. The proprietor likes the briquettes so much, he's put up an advertisement for them.
Actually, I found it very surprising. It's a product, charcoal like this. That's why very surprised, but I want to use it. That's why I use. It's eco-friendly. Yeah, very important.
More and more small shops are also discovering the benefits of the green briquettes. This shop owner has been selling them and already ordered more.
The green briquettes burn longer than charcoal, and they don't give off so many sparks. They sell quite well.
The factory needs more customers. It's up to the promotion team to win them over. Every morning, tuk-tuks drive in from the country loaded with charcoal, quite often made from timber illegally cut in Cambodia's last remaining rainforests. Come by and see us, says the promoter. The factory's right around the corner. The boys from the country have never seen briquettes like these before.
They look really odd. Maybe we could try them sometime.
But they have no time to drop by the factory. They have customers waiting for delivery.
These people are poor. They have no other way to earn their money, even if they do worry about the environment.
It's not easy getting a new product accepted by a market rooted in tradition. The Green Briquettes factory was started by French non-governmental organizations in 2010. Now it's up to industrial engineer Carlo Talamanca of Spain to make it profitable.
I started working in this factory 6 months ago, in July 2011. And the last 6 months, we succeeded to increase our sales from an average of 2 tons per month to over 8 tons per month, and to reduce the cost, but sustainability is still a long way to go.
The factory will have to sell twice as much to turn a profit. But word about the green briquettes is spreading among customers and suppliers both. And they're realizing that throwing away coconut shells means throwing away a good source of cheap, clean energy.
Next, we head to Bulgaria. For nearly half a century, the country was firmly communist until the collapse of the Eastern Bloc and the coming of democracy in 1990. Now, more than 2 decades later, some Bulgarians are developing a keen interest in the country's recent past, and they've chosen an up-to-date way to share their memories. In the digital age, we've all become used to posting pictures on our Facebook pages to share our personal story with our friends and family. And here are a couple of impressions from my own recent past in West Africa, Mali. But now let's get back to those Bulgarians, a group of young people who have set up a Facebook page with a difference. Nova TV's Nina Dimitrova takes a look online.
These snapshots, taken in the 1960s and 70s, provide rare glimpses of what life was like in Bulgaria when it was a communist state. The Miss Varna 1965 beauty contest, factory workers packaging cigarettes, women working in the Maritsa bottling and canning factory in the town of Pazardzhik. All these images and more have been collected by 3 men. The youngest is 18-year-old Georgi from the city of Stara Zagora.
With these photos, we wanted to show what the towns, cities, and countryside looked like back then. We wanted to show the athletes, actors, musicians, and singers who lived in the People's Republic of Bulgaria. Some of them are still living today.
The page on an internet site was launched just over a year ago, and it quickly became popular. Most of the fans are between 34 and 44. Some of them live in Bulgaria, but the page is also a favorite with Bulgarians who live in the US, the UK, Spain, and Germany. The page has more than 10,000 photos collated into more than 100 albums.
We find the photos on various internet sites that have some connection to the topic. We also use photos from albums that were published before 1989, but they're hard to find. We have our own archive, and we also use materials from old newspapers. Some of the photos were provided by fans of our Facebook page.
The page also elicits discussion and criticism of the former communist regime.
Some people say we're communists, but that's ridiculous. Trying to link an 18-year-old boy to the communist regime is absolute nonsense. People like that are not interested in commenting on the photos. They just want to annoy and provoke people.
Georgi says the photos and comments enable him and other young Bulgarians to find out more about their country's past.
The idea of the page is to show how people lived during that time and what their everyday lives were like without any political agenda. Our page doesn't aim to interfere with, evaluate, or comment on politics. We just want to show how people lived.
And we turn to Jordan now to meet a young man who has triumphed against all the odds. Born in one of Jordan's poorer regions, the talented science student has made it through university, winning accolades and a host of international prizes in the process. He has the full support of his professors for his latest invention, an innovation that could transform the lives of the country's small-scale farmers. Roya TV's Raida Hamra caught up with him.
Abdulrahman Al-Zarkan is a university student with a passion for both hard work and knowledge. It's a combination that's helped him develop a new irrigation technology. It's cheap and it works in freezing temperatures.
I entered local and international competitions and took part in the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair twice, and I won a prize. At the time, I was working on refining my project with financial support from a major research fund. I entered a competition in the U.S. in 2008 and took 4th place. Then in 2010, I was granted a patent for my invention here in Jordan.
Al-Zarkan grew up in Jordan's Tafila Governorate, the area of the country with the worst poverty and unemployment. He studies at the Tafila Technical University, where he's won the support and encouragement of his teachers.
I focused on my objective. I worked hard and stayed the course until I achieved it.
He persevered and experimented. Trial and error are disciplines he's been teaching himself since he was about 12. The teachers and lecturers at the Tafila Technical University supported the research and development process right up to his application for a patent.
Jordan has a semi-arid Mediterranean climate, but at higher elevations it can freeze. A reliable system for transporting and distributing warm water was just what was needed.
The system costs only around €150, purchased directly from Abdulrahman. An investment quickly recouped in the produce it saves from frost damage. Heroes are not just found on the battlefield, but also in the sciences, as this young Jordanian man, Abdulrahman Al-Zarkan, has shown. He became one of the most prominent names in the field in 2012. We congratulate him and his country, Jordan.
Indeed, good luck to him. Now, to the Bay of Bengal. Chittagong, the second most populous city in Bangladesh and one of the fastest growing in the world, is home to over 2 million people and some of the country's largest companies. The city generates so much rubbish that garbage piles up faster than it can be taken away. And instead of despairing, the local authorities have come up with an idea designed not only to provide an incentive to clean up the streets, but also to benefit nearby farmers and provide an income for the city. ETV Shakwat Litan reports.
As Chittagong's population grows, so do the mountains of garbage it produces. It piles up in various places, polluting the environment and leaving the city a mess. The Chittagong City Corporation took the initiative to solve the problem. They started by bringing all the city's garbage to the Ananda Bazaar area of Halashihar.
About 1,800 Chittagong City Corporation workers, known as Shebak, dump the garbage here in 3 shifts around the clock, working to clean up the city.
Much of the garbage is household trash. Every day, about 700 tons of rubbish pile up here.
It was a huge amount. The City Corporation began looking for a way to use it as a resource that would make money. And so they built this garbage treatment plant.
First, we compress it to remove the fiber. The process produces fiber and dust. We use the dust in compost. We also get some straw-like materials that we use to make plywood.
The Chittagong City Corporation also uses the trash to make fuel and fertilizer. The fertilizer is in demand for use in agriculture. At the same time, the garbage is taken off the streets where it might otherwise have caused disease.
The germs are dangerous. If allowed to breed, they can cause many types of illnesses. What we're trying to do is isolate them. By doing that, we can turn them to our advantage by making them into compost fertilizer.
Inspired by the success of its first garbage treatment plant, the Chittagong City Corporation is planning more projects along the same lines.
We're sending a request to the mayor for a big piece of land outside the city near Potengasi Beach, where we can dump the garbage and relocate the plant as well. We're thinking about doing this on a large scale.
We have several projects in the pipeline. We are considering trying to grow mushrooms in the future. At the moment, we're experimenting trying to produce fish food at our garbage treatment plant.
Projects like this can go a long way toward protecting the environment and public health as well. Garbage can be a resource and a source of revenue. The Chittagong City Corporation has already set a shining example.
Now, most people associate bees with honey. What's less commonly known is that without them, we humans would have to do without all kinds of everyday necessities. Bees play a crucial role in pollination for many plants, plants that we eat and plants that we use to produce clothing. But for years now, the population of bees worldwide has been in sharp decline. Fewer bees means less food, and less food means higher prices. Now, a group of Chilean specialists has formed an organization to raise awareness of the problem and try to tackle it at the source. And as UCV TV's Malena Rodriguez Suarez shows us, we could all feel a sting if bees don't make a comeback.
Albert Einstein once said, if bees disappeared from the surface of the earth, humans would have no more than 4 years to live. That may sound exaggerated, even alarmist, but in fact, a huge proportion of the food consumed by humans would not exist without the pollinating function of bees. Many everyday products like milk, cotton, and even many common painkillers depend on these insects. The situation is swiftly turning critical, with an estimated 1/3 of the world's bees disappearing every year. And the proportion appears to be rising, not falling. Regipro is a Chilean company dedicated to promoting sustainable beekeeping. Specialists from the company formed an NGO to do something about the bees' decline.
I'm Antonio Bogbam Vuletin. I'm managing director of the NGO Plan B. It was founded to address the need for a functioning model for breeding bees. We started in the Coquimbo region. We knew that the beekeepers there were collecting all the honey from their hives. They were also fortifying the bees' food with dietary supplements. That ended up weakening the hives, and that led to the beekeepers' products having to be subsidized. About 40 people are working in the NGO's various areas now. Education and nutrition, for example. We're also working on ways to optimize production, improving the use of water, the ecological balance, and handling of waste.
I've been keeping bees for 5 years now. When I started out, beekeeping already had some big problems. The most urgent one right now is the climate. It hasn't rained much and we've had to irrigate a lot to stop the blossoms dying. Another problem is pesticides. Lots of pesticides are used in farming. It's gotten really bad. The NGO is active in an environment that's out of reach of most beekeepers, the city. It educates children about what needs bees have and how useful they really are for all of us, including children.
The non-profit organization is placing great hope in the younger generation. It wants to create a shift in awareness and encourage people to implement measures to protect bees. In the short time it's existed, Plan B has come up against many obstacles. They haven't been easy to deal with, but the group's members are undeterred. They're tackling the problem from various angles in areas like education, distribution and research, and by offering advice through counseling programs.
We've received no support because our problems are associated with mines, mobile phone antennas, and poor water utilization in this country. All our proposed projects have been rejected. We need to clarify the problem, even if we already have. I'd say our country is among the world leaders for consumption per capita. That makes us concentrate on improving things that don't necessarily harmonize with the needs of our country. We're not opposed to industrial production, but if you look at the action that the government takes, you'll see it does not go hand in hand with improving people's lives.
The danger of bees vanishing from the earth needs to be taken more seriously. Nearly 50% of all the bee colonies worldwide have died out in the past 6 years alone. The NGO Plan B is concentrating on finding the causes and on offering practical solutions, as well as on opening the world's eyes to the effects of human greed on this planet. It's a question of survival.
And with that report, we've come to the end of this edition. Thanks so much for watching. To let us know what you think about the program, post a message on our Facebook page. Look for us under DW English. For now, here are this week's Picks of the World. See you next time.